My name is Lauren Parker, and I'm 29 years old. For 4 years, my life fit perfectly into 650 square feet. It wasn't glamorous. No granite countertops, no rooftop pool, just a small one-bedroom on the third floor of a quiet building, a scuffed wooden coffee table I'd bought secondhand, and a couch that had seen me through breakups, Sunday naps, and an embarrassing number of true crime documentaries. But it was mine. My name on the lease, my credit check, my rent paid on time every month, my rules, my mess, my peace. And then my boyfriend happened. His name is Austin, 27, charismatic in that I always land on my feet way. That sounds fun at 23 and quietly terrifying by 27. We'd been dating about 8 months when he started spending more nights at my place. At first, it was cute. He'd show up on Friday with a backpack and a bottle of wine. We'd spend the weekend together. On Mondays, there'd be a stray t-shirt in my laundry basket or his phone charger still plugged in by my bed. Little artifacts that made me smile. Then weekends became 3 nights a week, then 4. Then he just never left. There was never an actual conversation. I didn't say, "Hey, do you want to move in?" He never said, "Can I put my name on the lease?" What happened was this. His shampoo appeared in my shower. His electric razor buzzed on my bathroom counter. His hoodies claimed half my closet rod. His sneakers lined up beside my door. My coffee table disappeared under his game controllers, mail, and random receipts. My quiet little nest slowly turned into Our Place TM, except Our was doing a lot of heavy lifting. Austin didn't pay rent. Austin didn't even offer to pay rent. "Babe, you've already got the lease and everything," he'd say, like that explained it. "I'll just grab groceries sometimes. We'll figure it out." Sometimes turned into whenever he remembered. And figuring it out turned into me doing the mental math alone at my kitchen table. Still, I swallowed it. I loved him. Or I thought I did. And women are taught 1,000 different ways to tell themselves, "He'll grow up. This is temporary. Don't be difficult." Then, last month, the campaign started. "Babe, we need more space," he announced one night, standing in the middle of the living room like a realtor giving a disappointed tour. "This apartment is so cramped." "It's fine for one person," I said, the implied hint practically screaming. He didn't hear it, or pretended not to. "But there's 2 of us now," he said. "We need at least a 2-bedroom. Somewhere with an actual living area, maybe a balcony. Oh, an in-unit washer and dryer would be amazing." "Austin," I said, "you don't pay rent here." He waved his hand like I'd just pointed out the weather. "That's not the point. The point is we're practically living together, so we need a proper place together, something that fits us." I felt my jaw clench. My apartment worked just fine before he started treating every flat surface like his personal dumping ground. But the more I pushed back, the more relentless he got. Pinterest boards appeared on his phone. He sent me links to listings near downtown, super cute, only like $3,000 a month. He started saying things like, "When we move," as if it were already decided. 3 weeks ago, the ultimatum finally arrived. I was on the couch, half watching a game, half answering work emails, when he stepped in front of the TV and crossed his arms. "Lauren, I'm serious," he said. "Either we find a new place together, or we need to reconsider this relationship." He said it like he was doing me a favor, like he was offering me this incredible opportunity. "Congratulations, you've unlocked the chance to pay double rent, so a man who doesn't contribute can have a balcony." Something in my chest went very, very still. I looked up at him, really looked, at the way he'd colonized my space without asking, at the way we always meant, "You pay, I benefit," at the way he'd never once said, "What can I contribute?" And underneath his ultimatum, I heard the real message, "I'm betting you'll choose me over your own boundaries." "You're right," I said quietly. His face lit up instantly, like a kid on Christmas morning. "Seriously?" He grinned. "Oh my God, babe. Okay, so I've been looking at some places. There's this gorgeous 2-bedroom near downtown." "I'll handle it," I cut in. He blinked. "What?" "I'll take care of finding the place," I said, letting my voice go calm, steady, reassuring. "You said I'm better with numbers, remember? Let me handle it." Austin brightened even more. "Are you sure? Because I have very specific requirements." I smiled. "Trust me, I've got this." And just like that, he was off, babbling about open floor plans and bar carts and how he wanted a big TV on the wall and maybe a neon sign for the vibe. Every sentence started with, "when we move." Every plan assumed I'd be bankrolling the fantasy. I nodded in the right places. I made small, encouraging sounds. On the inside, I felt something else entirely. A cold, quiet strand of clarity wrapping around my spine. That weekend, while he was at the gym, I went apartment hunting. I didn't look at 2 bedrooms. I didn't even look at 1 bedrooms. I looked at studios, tiny, efficient cubes of solitude, spaces designed for exactly one person with exactly one set of expectations. I found it on a sunny Saturday afternoon. A modern building downtown with 24-hour security, big windows, and a view of the city that made the whole place feel bigger than it was. 400 square feet, a promotion on studios that made the rent slightly less than what I was already paying. And the best part? A strict one-person occupancy policy written directly into the lease. I stood in the middle of that empty room and exhaled a breath I didn't know I'd been holding for months. I pictured my bed by the window, my desk in the corner, my mugs in the cabinet. No stray hoodies draped over chairs, no pile of shoes I didn't wear, no ultimatum hanging over my head. "I'll take it," I said. By Monday, I'd signed a 1-year lease, paid first and last month's rent, and set my move-in date for 3 weeks out. I scheduled movers and gave them very specific instructions. "Pack and move everything in the bedroom that clearly belongs to me," I told them. "The desk in the corner room, all electronics, anything in the kitchen that looks like cookware or appliances I bought. Leave anything that looks like men's clothes, random decor, or extra junk. Don't touch it." They didn't care about the drama. They just nodded and took notes. The morning of moving day arrived crisp and too bright. Austin woke up in a good mood, already dressed in his moving clothes, buzzing with excitement. "Text me the address," he said, grabbing his keys. "I want to swing by first and take measurements." "It's a surprise," I said lightly, kissing his cheek. "Meet me there at noon. I'll text you once the movers are done. It'll be easier without you underfoot." He laughed. "Bossy, I like it." At 9 a.m., the movers showed up. 3 guys, efficient, expressionless. I walked them through the plan. They packed my bed, my dresser, my desk, my computer, my TV, my gaming setup. They boxed my dishes, cookware, coffee maker. They took the couch, the kitchen table, the chairs, every major piece of furniture I'd bought before Austin ever existed in my life. His clothes stayed in the closet. His sneakers stayed by the door. His hair products stayed on the bathroom counter. His random decorative pillows stayed piled on the couch I was taking. By 11:30, the truck was loaded. The apartment looked half empty and strangely lopsided. My life neatly boxed up, his chaos still scattered like evidence. I walked through one last time. On the kitchen counter, I placed my keys to the apartment and a folded note with his name on it. Inside, I'd written, "Austin, you said we needed more space or we were done. I chose more space. For me. The rent is paid through the end of the month. You can stay here until then. After that, you'll need to talk to the landlord about a new lease or find somewhere else. Good luck, Lauren." At 11:45, standing on the sidewalk outside my old building, I texted him the address of my new place. Then I turned off my phone, climbed into the passenger seat of the moving truck, and left the life he'd been slowly taking over. I didn't know exactly how ugly his reaction would be. I just knew one thing with absolute certainty. This time, when someone handed me an ultimatum, I was choosing myself. The movers finished unloading around 1 in the afternoon. By the time they left, my new studio looked like a maze of cardboard and disassembled furniture. The mattress leaned against the wall. My desk sat in pieces. Boxes labeled kitchen and closet were stacked up taller than me. It was chaos, but it was my chaos. I was kneeling on the floor, trying to remember which Allen wrench fit which bolt, when the front desk called my cell. "Ms. Parker?" a calm male voice asked. "Yes," I said, already bracing. My phone had been off since before we moved. I'd only turned it on 10 minutes earlier to let my mom know I was alive and not buried under a bookcase. "This is security downstairs," he said. "There's a very upset man in the lobby claiming he lives here with you. He's not on the lease." I closed my eyes for a second. There it was, the explosion. "Is his name Austin?" I asked. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "He says you're his girlfriend and you moved in together today." My eyes flicked to the window, to the slice of street visible 6 floors below. I could almost see him in my mind, pacing, furious, rehearsing the speech he thought would make me back down. "He doesn't live here," I said. "I'll come down." The lobby of my new building looked like a stock photo for urban luxury living. High ceilings, neutral furniture, huge panes of glass, letting in honey-colored light. It was quiet, peaceful. Except for Austin. He was standing at the security desk, face flushed, hair messy, like he'd been dragging his hands through it. His duffel bag sat on the floor beside him, half-zipped, clothes sticking out at odd angles. When he saw me, his expression flickered from relief to anger so quickly it almost blurred. "Lauren," he snapped, striding toward me. "What is this?" I stopped a good 6 feet away. "What is what?" "Where's our apartment?" he demanded, gesturing around. "You gave me the address to this building. Security says you're on the 6th floor. They won't let me up. What's going on?" I glanced at the security guard, who was watching us with the bored attention of someone used to mild drama. "This is my apartment," I said. "The studio on the 6th floor." His eyebrows shot up. "Studio?" "Yes, 400 square feet, one-person lease." His mouth opened, then closed. "We were supposed to be moving into a 2-bedroom. I tilted my head. "No, you wanted a 2-bedroom. I never agreed to that." "But you said we were moving," he protested. "You said you'd handle it. I thought it was understood." "That's your problem, Austin," I cut in, my voice low. "You assume things are yours just because you want them." He flinched, just a little. Then his indignation came roaring back. "Where's my stuff?" he demanded. "Where's all my furniture? My clothes? Half of that apartment is mine." "No," I said calmly. "All of that apartment was mine. Every major piece of furniture, every appliance. I bought everything before we met. The movers took what I owned. Your things are still there, exactly where you left them." He stared at me like he couldn't process English. "You left my things?" "Yes," I said. "You moved yourself into my apartment without asking, took over my space, then gave me an ultimatum. You said either we move somewhere bigger together or we reconsider the relationship. I chose to move. You didn't." His voice rose. "You can't just decide that without talking to me. That's insane. We've been together almost a year." The security guard subtly shifted his weight, ready if things went sideways. "Austin," I said, keeping my tone level, "you issued an ultimatum while standing in an apartment you didn't pay for, in a lease you weren't on. I gave you exactly what you said you wanted, more space. I moved. You can stay at the old place through the end of the month. I already paid the rent." "That's not the point," he spat. "You tricked me. You made me think we were starting a life together." "Did I?" I asked quietly. "Or did you project a life onto me and assume I'd fund it?" His jaw clenched. I could see him trying to pivot, trying to find a new angle where he was the victim and I was the cruel, irrational woman. "You stole my furniture," he tried. "My TV, my coffee maker. You took everything." I took my phone out of my pocket and unlocked it, already scrolling. "This is what my living room looked like right after I moved in 4 years ago," I said, holding up a photo. "Same couch, same table, same TV. All bought with my money, long before your shampoo invaded my shower." Austin glanced at the photo, then at the security guard like he expected some kind of backup. "She can't just do this," he said. "You can't just abandon someone. I have nowhere to go." The security guard looked at me. "He's not on your lease, correct?" "Correct," I said. "He's never paid a cent of rent. Legally, he's been my guest this whole time." Austin's face went pale, then blotchy red. "I'll sue you," he hissed. "This is a legal eviction. You can't just throw me out of my own home." "It's not your home," I said softly. "It never was. I talked to a lawyer before I signed my new lease. You're not on any paperwork. You don't pay rent. Legally, I don't owe you housing, movers, or a 2-bedroom fantasy." He stared at me like I'd just physically slapped him. For a second, I almost faltered, because beneath the anger there was a flash of something real, hurt, fear, the little boy version of him who probably always had someone swoop in and fix things. Then I remembered his laptop. Last week, he'd left it open on the couch when he went to shower. Notifications had popped up from Instagram, from some fitness app, and from one name over and over. Camilla, Jim. At first, I'd told myself it was nothing. A client. A friend. Then the preview of one message had caught my eye. "I swear, if I have to sleep on this tiny couch one more time, I might just accidentally move into your place instead." My hand had hovered over the trackpad. I shouldn't look. I knew I shouldn't. But something small and exhausted inside me had already started reading. The thread was not innocent. Late-night messages, flirty jokes, him complaining about how cramped things were at my place, how soon he'd be upgrading. Camilla laughing about how some girls don't know when they're out of their league. He hadn't told her he lived rent-free in my apartment. He just told her, "My girl's holding me back." Now, in the lobby, I watched him rage about how I had betrayed him and felt that exhaustion settle into clarity. "You really thought I didn't know about her?" I asked. His eyes narrowed. "Who?" "Camilla," I said. "From your gym, the one you text until 2 a.m., the one you told I was holding you back." He froze. "I saw the messages," I said. "You left your laptop open. I didn't even have to snoop. It was all right there. Real cute how you kept her warm. You know, just in case this apartment upgrade didn't work out. The security guard's eyebrows crept up his forehead. Austin recovered fast. Those were just friendly conversations, he said. You're being paranoid. Maybe, I said, but if I'm paranoid, at least I'm paranoid in my own apartment, alone. I bent down, picked up his duffel, and set it gently in front of him. You have until the end of the month at the old place, I said. My rent is paid through then. After that, you'll need to talk to the landlord about taking over the lease or find somewhere else. He shook his head, disbelief and panic warring on his face. Lauren, you can't do this, he said. You can't. We're supposed to be building a future. You're overreacting. Just talk to me. We can work this out. Austin, I said, voice soft but final. This is me, working it out. You said we needed more space or we were done. I chose more space. We're done. The security guard cleared his throat. Sir, he said to Austin, unless you're a resident or a registered guest, I'm going to have to ask you to leave the building. Austin looked between us, realization finally dawning that this was not a bluff. You're insane, he spat at me. You'll regret this. No one else is going to put up with you. I smiled. It felt oddly light. Good, I said. I'm done being put up with. The elevator doors slid open behind me. I stepped in, met his eyes one last time, and let the doors close on him, still shouting my name. Back upstairs, my studio felt even quieter than before. The city hummed beyond the windows. Cardboard towers loomed. A single mug sat in the sink. I turned my phone back on. It exploded. 38 missed calls, dozens of texts. Austin's messages came in waves. Are you kidding right now? Answer your phone. This isn't funny, Lauren. Where is all my stuff? You took everything. You can't do this to me. I have nowhere to go. You're cruel. I can't believe I trusted you. Camilla's more loyal than you ever were. That last one made me snort out an involuntary laugh. There were texts from his best friend, Jordan. What did you do? Austin's freaking out. He says you locked him out and stole his furniture? Call him, seriously. This is messed up. And one message from his mother, Diane. Lauren, I don't know what's going on, but Austin is very upset and says you kicked him out with no warning. Can we talk? I stared at her text for a long moment. Then I typed, Diane, Austin moved himself into my apartment without asking and has never paid rent. Recently, he demanded that I upgrade to a larger place for both of us and issued an ultimatum. Either I find a new, bigger apartment for us, or we reconsider the relationship. I chose to move into a smaller studio for myself. My old rent is paid through the end of the month. He can stay there until then, but after that, he'll need his own lease and income to qualify. I wish him the best. Her reply came within minutes. He told me you begged him to move in and promised to take care of him financially. That's not what you're saying. It isn't what happened, Diane. There was a pause, 3 blinking dots, then, I see, I'll talk to him. I blocked Austin. I blocked Jordan. I left Diane unblocked. Then I set my phone face down on the counter, looked around my 400 square feet of future, and finally let myself breathe. Week 1 in the studio felt like waking up after a long, slow fever I hadn't realized I'd had. For the first time in months, I didn't trip over someone else's sneakers on my way to the kitchen. The bathroom counter stayed clean. The air smelled faintly of coffee and linen detergent instead of his cologne. It was quiet, not lonely, but peaceful. Every sound was mine. Every inch of space belonged to me again. By Wednesday, I'd started sleeping better. I woke up before my alarm, made breakfast barefoot, and actually tasted the toast. Then, that evening, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen since the lobby showdown. Diane. I hesitated, then answered. Hi, Diane, I said. Her sigh came through the line like she'd been holding her breath for days. Lauren, I just need to ask you something directly. Please don't be offended. All right. Did you ever promise to take care of Austin financially? He's telling me you said he didn't have to worry about work anymore because you'd handle everything. I stared at my mug. No, Diane, I never said that. He works part-time at that boutique downtown, right? Yes. That was his choice. I never told him to quit or rely on me. I covered rent because it was my apartment, that's all. Silence, then. I thought so. I could almost hear her shaking her head. He's been camped on my couch for 2 days. Keep saying you betrayed him, that you left him with nothing. I let out a breath. I didn't leave him with nothing. I left him with exactly what he brought in, his own things. The apartment's paid through the end of the month. He has time. More silence. Then Diane said quietly, I raised him better than this. Something in her tone softened me. You tried, Diane, I said. He's just used to being rescued. She sighed again, heavier this time. I think you're right, and I'm done rescuing him. After we hung up, I felt a complicated mix of relief and guilt. Relief because someone finally saw what I'd been dealing with. Guilt because Diane was a good woman who didn't deserve to be stuck cleaning up her son's emotional mess. But that sympathy didn't last long. The next afternoon, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my former landlord. "Hey, Lauren," he said, voice tight. "Your ex-boyfriend came by the office today. Says you locked him out of the unit." I rolled my eyes. I didn't lock him out. I left both keys inside when I moved. He should still have his if he ever had one. "That's the thing," the landlord said. "We never issued him a key. He's not on the lease." Right, I'd forgotten. "Well, then he must have had mine," I said. "But I left both keys in the kitchen. If he lost them, that's on him." He grunted. "He's been calling nonstop. Says he needs access to get his belongings, but also tried to convince us to transfer the lease into his name." "Can he even qualify?" "No," the landlord said flatly. "Bad credit. Insufficient income. He doesn't meet the requirements. Told him that. He didn't take it well." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "If he contacts you again, please tell him to stop harassing your office. He can reach me through his mother if it's about something essential." "Will do," he said. "Good luck with that one." By Friday, I was half expecting the next escalation, and it came, right on schedule. At 4 p.m., the front desk called again. "Ms. Parker," the security guard said, sounding vaguely apologetic. "There's a woman downstairs asking for you. Says her name's Kelsey. Says it's urgent." I blinked. "I don't know a Kelsey." "She says she's your ex-boyfriend's friend. She's being loud." "Of course she was." "Please ask her to leave," I said. "I don't want any contact." I stood by the window and watched from 6 floors up as the woman left the lobby, pulling out her phone furiously. 20 minutes later, my email pinged with a new message. From kelsey.doe@gmail.com. Subject: You owe him an explanation. Except when I opened it, it wasn't from Kelsey. It was from Austin, using her account. "Lauren, this is ridiculous. You're being cruel and heartless. I have nowhere to go, and you know it. The least you could do is help me move my stuff. You have a truck. You can afford movers. I can't. If you ever cared about me at all, you'll help me. I'll be at the old apartment Sunday at 2 p.m. Please be there." I stared at the message. Then I closed my laptop without replying. That Sunday, I spent the afternoon meal prepping and organizing my closet. I roasted vegetables, labeled containers, rearranged my bookshelf. At 4 o'clock, my phone buzzed again. Diane. "Did you help Austin move today?" she asked. "I didn't," I said. "He emailed me through Kelsey's account, but I chose not to respond." Diane groaned softly. "He's here now. Says he had to move everything himself. Claims it took all day." "He had a week to plan it," I said. "I know. I just wanted you to know he's spiraling. Keep saying you owe him, that you used him." My lips pressed together. "That sounds familiar." "I told him to stop," Diane said. "Told him this was his mess to clean up. For what it's worth, I think you handled this exactly right. Tough love might be what he needs." Something in my chest eased at that. "Thank you," I said quietly. "Really." After we hung up, I looked around my tiny studio, the sunlight spilling across the hardwood, the hum of the city below, and realized I hadn't felt this free in years. No background noise, no emotional negotiation, just peace. For about 3 days. Because on Tuesday morning, an email arrived from something called Lex and Legal Associates. The subject line, "Cease and desist. Property and damages." My heart jumped before my brain caught up. I opened it. It wasn't from an actual law firm. It was one of those 49,999 online template letters, the kind people use when they want to look official. It read, "Dear Ms. Parker, you are hereby instructed to cease and desist all unlawful withholding of personal property belonging to my client, Austin Miller. You are further required to return all items belonging to my client, compensate him for moving costs, pay $3,000 for emotional distress, issue a written apology for abandonment and humiliation." It ended with a Gmail address. I actually laughed out loud. Still, for sanity's sake, I forwarded it to Ben, my friend who is a lawyer. He called me 5 minutes later, laughing so hard he could barely breathe. "Lauren, this is from LegalZoom. It's not even enforceable. You could frame it if you want. I'd ignore it." Should I reply? "Only if you want to make him look more ridiculous," Ben said. So I did. "Dear Mr. Miller, all items in my former apartment that belonged to me have been moved to my new residence. Any items remaining in the old apartment belong to you and were your responsibility to remove prior to the lease end date. I will not be responding to further correspondence. Regards, Lauren Parker." I hit send, leaned back, and felt something solid click into place. The fear that used to rise every time Austin's name appeared on my screen didn't show up this time, just calm detachment. The kind you feel when you realize you've already walked away from the fire. That evening, Diane called again. Her voice was tight, tired. "Lauren," she said, "I need to be honest with you about something." I sat on the edge of my bed. "Go ahead." "Austin finally admitted why he wanted you to get that bigger apartment." "Oh," I said, though my gut already whispered that it would be something absurd. Diane took a breath. "It wasn't just for him. His sister Talia is getting divorced. He wanted her to move in too, rent-free." I blinked. "You're kidding." "I wish I was. He figured you'd pay rent for a 2-bedroom. He and Talia would each get a room, and you'd cover everything. He actually told me that's what partners do." I laughed, but it came out sharp. "So, he wanted me to house both of them while he played house manager. Apparently, he even told Talia you'd already agreed." My laugh turned into something halfway between disbelief and disgust. "Well, at least the lease policy saved me from that circus." Diane's voice softened. "He's staying with me for now, but only until the end of the week. I told him he needs to get a real job and stop expecting women to fix his life. He didn't take it well." "I can imagine." "He blames you," she said, "but that's his problem now. Just be prepared in case he tries to reach out again." "I blocked him," I said, "and I plan to keep it that way." There was a pause. Then Diane said quietly, "Good. I think this was a lesson he needed, even if it hurts to admit." After we hung up, I sat by the window and let the night air cool my skin. For the first time, I saw it clearly. The whole relationship wasn't one big betrayal. It was 1,000 small ones. Little red flags I'd folded into paper cranes and called love. Austin didn't want a partner. He wanted a provider. And I'd finally stopped auditioning for that role. 6 weeks later, I woke up to sunlight streaking across my tiny apartment, warm and gold, falling through the blinds like a soft apology from the universe. It hit me then. It had been over a month since I'd heard from him. No texts, no emails, no fake law letters, just silence. I didn't realize how heavy the noise had been until it stopped. The lease at my old place ended without a single hitch. The landlord confirmed that Austin had collected all his belongings before the deadline. Apparently, he even took pictures of the empty apartment to prove I'd stolen his furniture. But the landlord, bless him, had my original move-in photos showing every piece was mine. When I read that email, I smiled for the first time in days. Clean closure. Or so I thought. A week later, my phone buzzed with a message from an unfamiliar number. Brett, a guy from one of Austin's old friend groups. "Hey, Lauren. Weird question, but Austin said you might still have something of his? A jewelry box his grandma gave him? He said it was really sentimental." "A jewelry box." I stared at the text for a full minute, half amused, half exasperated. Austin never had a jewelry box. Not once in all the months he'd lived off my Wi-Fi and hot water. This was bait. "Hey, Brett, I don't have anything of Austin's. Everything he owned was left at the old apartment for him to collect. If something's missing, he should check the boxes he moved out himself." 3 dots. Then, "Oh, okay. He seemed really sure. That's not what he told us." "I'm sure it's not," I typed back. "But the truth doesn't change just because he's uncomfortable with it." He didn't respond after that. Later that week, I learned through a mutual acquaintance that Austin's little jewelry box test had backfired. Apparently, Brett told the group what I'd said, and it didn't line up with Austin's version of events. The story started unraveling fast. He'd told everyone I'd blindsided him, stole his stuff, and left him homeless. But when they pressed him for details, lease documents, receipts, even texts, everything fell apart. By the end of that week, I heard he'd been uninvited from a birthday party because someone finally told him, "Man, this isn't about her. You did this to yourself." Karma has a funny sense of timing. Diane texted me that same evening. "Just wanted you to know he's moved out of my place. Found a shared apartment with some friends. He's not thrilled about it, but he needed the wake-up call." Then another message, minutes later. "Thank you for being patient with me. I should have believed you sooner." I stared at her words for a long time before replying. "You don't owe me an apology, Diane. You're not responsible for what he did. You raised him. He made his choices." She sent one more message. "I raised him to be independent, but somehow he learned entitled instead. That's on both of us." A week later, she asked to meet for coffee. When I walked into the cafe, she was already there. Cardigan, neat hair, hands wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched yet. "Lauren," she said, standing to hug me. "Thank you for coming." "Of course," I said, and meant it. She smiled, tired but sincere. "He's angry, still, but I think he's starting to understand what he lost. Not just the apartment, you. the stability you gave him. I stirred my latte, the spoon clinking against the cup. He didn't lose me. He never really had me. Not the real me, anyway. Diane nodded slowly. You're a smart woman. Don't let him make you second-guess that. We talked for another half hour, about nothing heavy, just work, hobbies, normal things. When we said goodbye, she hugged me again and whispered, I'm proud of you for walking away. That night, I walked home under city lights that looked softer somehow, like the world had exhaled. The studio greeted me the way it always did. Quiet, clean, steady. And for the first time since all of this started, I didn't feel like I was healing from something. I just felt whole. A week later, something small and unexpected happened. I was standing in line at the coffee shop near my building. Same place I went every morning. Same barista who always spelled my name Lauren. When a man behind me said, Excuse me, are you in line? He had kind eyes and a smile that didn't rush to fill the silence. His name was Ethan. He lived 2 blocks away, worked as an architect, had a quiet laugh that made me want to listen. We started talking about how this cafe always ran out of oat milk before 10 a.m. We ended up walking to work together, then doing it again the next day, and the next. On our 4th coffee run, he asked, So, do you live alone? There was no hint of judgment in his voice, just curiosity, gentle and human. Yeah, I said, 400 square feet of perfect solitude. He grinned. That sounds amazing. I love living alone too. It was such a simple thing. No manipulation, no hidden agenda, that it almost made me emotional. I smiled back. It is. That night, I stood by my window with the city glowing below and thought about everything that had happened. The messy apartment, the ultimatum, the fake lawyer letter, the late-night calls, Diane's kindness, Ethan's easy smile. And I realized something I wished I'd known sooner. When someone gives you an ultimatum, they're betting you'll choose them over yourself. Austin bet I'd cave, that I'd pay for peace I'd already earned, that I'd keep dimming myself just to keep him comfortable. He lost that bet. I didn't just get more space, I got myself back. My 400 square feet feel bigger than any 2-bedroom could have been. No noise, no clutter, no compromises that shrink me. Just sunlight, coffee, quiet, and the sound of my own laughter filling the air again. And that, I decided, is exactly the kind of space worth keeping.